Be honest, have you ever cut your hair after something devastating happened? A breakup, a loss, a moment where you looked in the mirror and thought, I cannot be this version of myself anymore? Because if you have, welcome. This episode is for the emotionally impulsive, the heartbroken, the reborn, and anyone who's ever said, don't worry, it'll grow back, while absolutely spiraling. Today, we're talking about cutting your hair and accidentally changing your life. Hi, I'm Zoe and this is episode 4 of You're a Buzz You podcast, a space where we talk about transformation, healing and slightly chaotic ways that we try to take our power back. So why hair is never just hair? Let's just get one thing straight. Hair is never just hair. It's identity, it's memory, it's how people recognise us, and it's how we actually recognise ourselves. I mean, if you think about it, people say things like, oh, I miss the old you, and half the time they're talking about your hair. So I feel like hair holds history, and when life breaks us open, cutting it can feel like saying, this version of me ends here. So if you've ever kind of gone through a big change in your life and felt the need to drastically change your hair, I'm sure that everybody can relate. And as a hairdresser, you do experience that quite a lot, where you get kind of clients wanting to drastically change their hair, and it's usually because something else in their life is going on, or something's happened, maybe a breakup, or it's usually when people have kind of broke up with people, and maybe marriages have sadly broke down, and maybe kids have flown the nest even as well. I found that quite a lot, where people then just kind of start to think a bit differently. After lockdown, it was massive for that. I mean, I got a lot of clients asking for different hair colours, then obviously cutting fringes in, and I'm not talking just like a bit of a bang kind of thing. I'm talking a full fringe, and I always try and persuade clients out of that as well. I kind of look at their lifestyle and kind of see, I feel like with the fringe you kind of have to look like you're doing it ironically. It has to be quite gamine and quite has to kind of go with your whole look, and also you have to be able to manage it yourself, and it's kind of getting that point across. And I've actually found as well that a lot of people choose to cut their own hair and their own fringes in when they've gone through a time of crisis, and there's definitely got to be some kind of psychological reasoning and science behind it, but I do feel like it's because it's sometimes feels like the only thing that we can kind of control. If you kind of get to that point where you're just in a drastic change in your life and you kind of get to a breaking point. I mean, sometimes it can be that you're sick of carrying excess weight, or you're sick of feeling a certain way. It kind of goes hand in hand with your food and diet and exercise, and then obviously then your physical appearance then kind of comes next on things that you want to change about yourself. So it's I do say, and I think it was like Coco Chanel said, that a girl who cuts her hair will definitely change her life, and I can honestly say that definitely was the case for me, to be fair, because when always people say, oh, when did you first have short hair? And I made the decision when I was 19, so I'm 35 now, so a very long time ago, and I just kind of I don't know, I think it was that thing of wanting to recreate myself, and I had this vision of my hair was really quite long. I used to wear extensions and it was dark red, and I used to just put any kind of box dye that I could on it, even though I was just starting out in hairdressing then as obviously a proper professional. So I just kind of put an XXL Live on it, and it used to fade so fast, and I just had this vision in my mind of that I just wanted to cut it, and I wanted to have short blonde hair. And at the time I was kind of envisioning this like little like blonde pixie crop, and when you think of that, it was so drastic 'cause my hair was so long, and as I say, I was kind of very girly, very kind of having all the curls in it and everything, and putting clip-in extensions of the back in the day when extensions weren't as advanced as what they are now. I used to like have half my hair like hanging out of my head on a night out and thought it looked amazing, to be fair, which it probably really didn't. So yeah, and I kind of got to the point where I wanted to change my whole look. I'd lost like quite a lot of weight at that point, and I was feeling really good. And I was with my ex-boyfriend then, who he just put me on a pedestal of life. Like, he made me feel like a queen, and I really do have him to thank for how much confidence I gained in that time of my life. And he just said, "Oh my God, yeah, I think it's going to look amazing." And everybody else was like, "No, Zoe, do not do it. It's going to look awful. You're going to regret it." And I was like, "No, I'm going short and blonde with my hair." And I remember sitting in this salon chair it was a girl that I'd worked at Vidal Sassoon with, but she'd moved on to this other salon. So I went in and I said, "I want my hair to be short and blonde." And at this point it was like nearly jet black on the ends. It was like a fuchsia kind of ready colour at the root from over box dyeing it, which I'm definitely going to do another podcast episode about what not to do and how never ever to box dye your hair, and the damage it does to the hair. So you can imagine it was like almost like chewing gum on the ends, and I was saying that I wanted it cut short and I wanted it blonde, and my hair is really thick as well. So I kind of sat there and she was like, "Well, obviously, yeah, we can cut it, but I don't think we're going to be able to get it blonde," because she said, "Oh, have you used XXL Live?" And I said, "Yep, this is what I've been using." And she said, "No, we're not touching it with bleach, because XXL Live colours react very differently to professional colours, so it basically would just never come out of the hair and it would just not work." So I kind of got to the point where I was a bit upset, because I just had this vision of me having short blonde hair. And I left with it, and honest to God, like, even when she kind of put it into this ponytail and cut the whole ponytail off, I knew it was the right decision. It's so crazy now looking back. It was so long ago, but I remember sitting there and I remember thinking, "Oh my God, this is the new version of Zoe." And I just kind of, I feel like my life just elevated from there. And I had this vision of who I wanted to be with this hair, what I wanted to wear, what type of person I wanted to be. And as I say, at the time I was with my ex-boyfriend, and we were then together for probably about another 4 years after that. And more and more as time went on, we grew apart, and I just grew into this different person, and I no longer wanted to get married or anything like that. It just wasn't my life. Like, it wasn't my path. And I feel really kind of proud now looking back at my strength at the time, because this guy, I mean, he was absolutely amazing to me. He treated me so well, and he was really integrated with my family, and he just was like the perfect guy that you would marry on paper. And I just kind of said to myself, I don't want this life. I just don't want to get married. I got him, he proposed to me on a gondola in Venice, and we had this really kind of crazy engagement. But at this point I was 21, and I look back now and I'm like, wow, I was a baby, and people were coming up to me and saying, "Oh, when are you getting married? What are you going to set the date?" And I was like, "Date? Oh my God, no, it's not. I don't want to get married." And we kind of put it off, and we ended up coming to this like mutual agreement that it was not really deep down what I wanted, and he was just kind of going along with it. And he ended up getting married quite shortly after it, actually, to another lady that he's still with, and God bless him. Like, I'm so glad that he found exactly what he wanted to find in his life. But here's me me with my short blonde hair. I finally got it blonde, to be fair, because I bleached it all myself in the end, because I got home. Everyone loved the hair. Everyone was like, oh my God, no, it looks really, really good. But at this point, it was still like this dark red at the top. And then obviously on the sides and the back, it was basically my natural colour, which is like a mousy, gingery brown. So, and I remember walking in and I said to my sister, like, oh my God, what do you think though of the colour? And she said, Zoe, you need to bleach it. And I was like, I know, but I'm so scared. I had this like crap bleach at the time that I was just like, I just needed to lift it. And she said, Zoe, it can't look any worse colour wise, like we need to get it sorted. So I ended up then bleaching it, and then I had to bleach it again, and it was nearly a disaster, but we kind of got it bang on, and it was then blonde, and then it went blonder and blonder, and I got it then this ice white blonde that I envisioned, and my life just completely changed from there. And I can't lie, it was probably the best decision I ever made in my entire life, because I do feel like it set me then. And at this point I didn't have any tattoos either, and I just kind of had this like new thing of who I wanted to be. So I genuinely believe that hair is such a massive part of how you come across to the world, and it's not just this like vain thing. It's kind of truly who you can be, whoever you want to be. But it kind of starts with that kind of that mindset of like, this is who I want to be. I want to be this kind of girl with this short pixie blonde hair, and I had this vision again that I wanted to have like a cropped leather jacket on, and maybe looking back it was like a little bit kind of punky. Maybe I was kind of going for like an 80s kind of vibe and this Madonna kind of look. Maybe I think that's kind of subconsciously the type of look that I wanted to go for. And I look back and I'm like, wow, I actually made it happen, and my career really progressed after that. My business really took off, and I just was, and now I've kind of obviously grown, and I've actually never really changed my hair. I mean, it's kind of evolved over the years. I've had it different kind of elements and different versions of short, but it has always stayed the same type of haircut, to be fair. Then when I worked at Harvey Nichols when I was about 22, I worked with this amazing hairdresser called Nancy, and she taught me everything that I knew about hair colour, and she took me under her wing and taught me everything. And I always say she made me a hairdresser, and I was trained up until that point, but she was colour specialist, and bless her, now she's got an amazing salon in South Manchester there. And at the time I remember she was experimenting with all different types of techniques and everything, and she said to me, at this point my hair was just like a white blonde, beautiful colour, and she turned around and said, Zoe, do you want pink hair? And I said, pink? Oh my God, yeah, 100%. Like, didn't know what type of pink she meant, but I just kind of like went with it. And she did the most pastel, beautiful colour of pink, and I've literally been like that ever since. So when people say, oh God, you must change your hair all the time, I actually really don't. I actually am very quite rigid with the colour, and I don't really veer off from having it this soft pastel pink. But I do believe that there is a deeper kind of emotional response to life and what life throws at us, and it can kind of be a control versus release type of situation. I mean, I think a therapist or a kind of psychologist would have a field day with how people present themselves to the world is usually based on how they feel. I mean, it kind of even goes down to when you're feeling a bit bleh and you're feeling a bit crap, then you tend to put baggier clothes on, you tend to not really do your hair very well, and yeah, then when you're feeling really great, it can have obviously the opposite effect. So I'm really lucky in the fact that the way my sister cuts my hair, it just usually just kind of sits in place really, really nicely. So even if I am having a bit of a bad hair day, the worst it kind of gets for me is having to wear a cap and kind of covering the whole thing up. And I even like my hair with a little bit of root on it as well, so I feel like it tends to look better the darker it is at the root, because that's just the kind of look that we're going for. So yeah, I do feel like it's kind of, usually it's after a breakup, it might be kind of, you can't control how they've left, you can't control what you've lost, but you can control your hair, and you can control that kind of impulsive wanting to completely change a situation. And also as well, the release side of it is letting go of an old identity, which was definitely what I did. Letting go of memories attached to that version of you, and letting go of who you were trying to be for somebody else even. I mean, it's quite deep, but I do feel like it kind of gets to that point. And yeah, cutting your hair is saying, I don't know what's next, but I'm not staying here. And I can completely relate to that in my life, and it was just the best thing. And some people say to me now, like, oh, would you ever grow your hair? And I'm like, absolutely not. Why would I want to look like everybody else? Like, it's just not who I am. Because after that, it then kind of stemmed into me getting my tattoos. And I mean, even my tattoos, it wasn't really the plan to look like that. But then the vision kind of evolved over time, where it was like, no, I want to be covered in tattoos. If I'm going for it, I'm going for it. And people will say, oh, like, oh, what's it going to look like when you get old? And it's, well, age is going to come to all of us. And it's, I think it's kind of, I don't really feel like I even see them on my body anymore. So it's like when people mention it to me, for me personally, it's the most boring conversation, because it's just so part of me. It's like talking about your arm on your body, or your kind of nose, or just something really kind of that's so normal to you on your body. For me, that's like what it's like. So many guys have tried to kind of come over and chat to me, and they're like, oh, about your tattoos. And I'm like, oh, roll my eyes at that point. So I'm like, no, it's the most boring conversation ever. And even sometimes if I see a guy that has got loads of tattoos, I want to talk about his but then I'm like, I know it's the most boring conversation. Why am I even bringing this up? Why am I asking him? But I do feel like, from an outside perspective, it is quite fascinating that that's what you've chosen to do. But this physical body is just the physical body. It's nothing to do with, it's just a vehicle that we kind of go through this lifetime with. And our soul is eternal. Our soul is not this body. We're not the same thing. It's very, very separate, and that's just my belief system. So we all go to the same place, when it's over. But yeah, so I just feel like I want to kind of have just like an interactive, fun and engaging time, and just let you kind of think about if you've ever had an emotional haircut. I want you to think about what you were going through at that time. What did you think that the haircut would fix, and what did it actually give to you? What did it make you feel after it? Was it an absolute disaster? Did it make you feel a million times worse? Or did it, like me, completely change your life, completely elevate your life? And this doesn't just have to be just a haircut. It can be a completely different colour. Colour is massive as well, because again, colour is how you present yourself to the world. It's kind of what you're saying. And so many people say to me on a daily basis, like, oh God, I wish I had the confidence to have hair like that. And it's true. It really does take absolute confidence to do something like that. But for me now, it's just a complete norm. It literally, for me, it might as well just be the most normal hair. So it would be super cute if you could leave in the comment section or on Spotify leave in the comment section any kind of like emotional haircut stories. That would be really cute, and the kind of the good, the bad, and the why did I do that, because honestly I feel like we all deserve a support group, and that's what I'm trying to create with this podcast. I just want it to be fun. I want it to be kind of relatable to people, and not this kind of stuck up thing and this vain thing and this like this kind of culture that we've got at the moment. I'm not really part of that, and I don't really see it on my algorithm, because anything that I look at is usually quite positive and inspiring and usually quite down to earth. So, and it really genuinely does help you when you're surrounded by that, instead of all the kind of, I mean, there's so much like kind of dark things out there on social media that to be fair, it's not really in my personal reality, because I choose not to look at it or anything, but it's the kind of vibe that I'm trying to create is something that's really friendly, down to earth, and just really cute overall. So we're thinking about rebirth energy, and here's the part that nobody talks about enough is emotional haircuts aren't just about loss, they're about rebirth. New hair grows, but so does confidence, so does clarity, so does the version of you that no longer kind of tolerates what you've been through, and it's kind of onwards and upwards. And as long as you've got the right hairdresser, that's going to work out really, really well. And please don't do your own hair. But sometimes the haircut is just the first brave decision that you've done after a long period of silence. And after like being postpartum, I was talking about this earlier today with my sister, and as I've said on the previous episode, I'm definitely going to be doing a postpartum episode, and I really want to get my sister on because she's in the midst of it right now. Bless her. She's just, I can just so relate, and it's a very emotional journey kind of going through it with her, because she was with it when she was with me going through my journey, and now I can kind of repay the favour and just kind of tolerate what she's going through and just like basically hold her hand through it. And even she's been going through something with her hair. One minute she wants her weave in and she wants this really long thick hair, and then just out of nowhere she's kind of wanted to just take it all out and just have no extensions in whatsoever, and her hair now is like recovering. So even I do feel like whatever you're kind of going through mentally really translates with your hair, and because it's how you feel, and it is something that we can definitely control. So if you're thinking about cutting your hair right now, ask yourself what you're trying to release, and do, like, if you already did release it, you didn't kind of respond to a moment the only way that we knew how. So transformation doesn't always look graceful. Sometimes it looks like uneven layers and emotional freedom. So I do feel like if you are in that place where you're kind of wanting to recreate yourself, then, as I say, make sure that you get the right hairdresser and somebody that is kind of emotionally aware of you enough to be able to kind of walk you through it in a safe way, and for your hair's sake and for your future self's sake as well, to be able to kind of get a look that represents who you want to be. As I say, I am going to be doing a little bit more about the postpartum time, just because I feel like even 18 months later, I still felt like I only just felt like my normal self again. And my hair kind of changed when I was breastfeeding. Then when I stopped breastfeeding, my hair changed again. And it really did kind of get to the point where it was starting to affect my confidence. And I can see that that's kind of, it really really does have a massive impact. Like, I've always had really nice thick hair, and then it did just start kind of snapping off at the front, and my hairline just started to look a little bit different. So I got onto Hairburst, and within a month it did start to feel a bit back to normal, and now it's just kind of like completely back to normal. But yeah, so that's all from me for this week. I am going to Thailand next week, so I'm going to take my recording equipment to be able to record an episode from Thailand. God knows what that'll be like, because I don't know what to expect from that place. I just booked it on a absolute impulse, and me and my daughter are going, and I don't really know what I'm going to do there. I don't really know a lot about it. I just know that half of the UK is there right now, so it probably feel like Brits abroad. But yeah, so I'm going to be recording probably from my balcony or the beach or God knows where with a pad thai. But yeah, so if this episode resonated, then share it with someone who's survived an emotional haircut or is dangerously close to one. Until next time, be gentle with yourself and maybe step away from the scissors. If you're liking my podcast so far, then whack it a like and a little comment, just so I can see exactly what you're thinking. And if you follow me on Instagram and TikTok, it's zoe.mybeautyco. You'll be able to see more of the things that I do within the hair and beauty industry. Also, if you've got any suggestions as well, just leave that in the comments. Just helps me kind of just be guided into exactly what people are wanting to listen to. And as I say, I'm new to doing the podcast, and it's just going to get better and better, and I can already feel like my confidence is building, and I kind of just like finding more and more things to be able to talk about. And yeah, I hope you're enjoying it, and I will speak to you next week.